The room was filled with laughter, expensive champagne, and the kind of confidence only powerful people carried. 200 guests watched as a man in a simple navy suit stood frozen in the middle of the grand ballroom, his dignity shattered in front of everyone he had come to respect. They thought he was nobody. They thought he was just another quiet guest who didn't belong among billionaires and executives. But they had no idea that the man they were humiliating was the very person who controlled the future of their company's biggest deal in history. Before we begin this emotional story, if you believe kindness matters, that people deserve respect no matter their appearance or position, and that everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories. The story began in Chicago, Illinois, where a man named Caleb Whitmore built his life from nothing. Unlike the wealthy executives who surrounded him that night, Caleb never inherited a fortune or had powerful connections. He grew up watching his parents struggle to pay bills, and he learned early that success was not about showing people how much you had, but about remembering where you came from. At the age of 22, Caleb started a small technology company in a rented office above an old grocery store. The walls were cracked, the furniture was second-hand, and some months he wasn't even sure if he could afford to keep the lights on. But Caleb believed in one thing: creating technology that could help ordinary people and businesses solve real problems. For years he worked silently. While others chased attention and fame, Caleb focused on building something meaningful. His company, Whitmore Innovations, slowly grew from a small startup into one of America's most successful technology companies. But despite his success, Caleb remained humble. He avoided interviews, rarely appeared in public, and trusted his team to represent the company. Many people in the business world knew the name Whitmore Innovations, but very few knew what Caleb looked like. He preferred it that way. He wanted people to respect the work, not the person behind it. Years later, Caleb was invited to a prestigious charity gala at the Meridian Grand Ballroom in New York City. The event was organized by one of the country's most influential business families, Richard and Vanessa Caldwell. The night was supposed to celebrate a historic partnership between their company and a major technology firm. The agreement was worth nearly $1 billion and was expected to transform both businesses. Caleb attended quietly because he wanted to meet the people involved personally. He believed partnerships were built on trust, not just contracts. He arrived wearing a simple navy suit, nothing flashy, and walked into the ballroom surrounded by celebrities, investors, and executives wearing designer clothing worth more than most people's homes. Almost immediately, Caleb noticed something uncomfortable. People looked at him differently. They judged him before knowing him. Because he wasn't surrounded by assistants or wearing a luxury watch, they assumed he was someone insignificant. At first, Caleb ignored the whispers. He had spent years being underestimated, but then things went too far. During the celebration, Richard Caldwell stood with his wife Vanessa near the center of the ballroom. They were surrounded by investors and guests celebrating their upcoming billion-dollar deal. When Caleb approached to introduce himself, Richard barely looked at him. Instead of welcoming him, Richard made a joke about how anyone could walk into a room like this pretending to be important. Several guests laughed. Caleb stood quietly, hoping the moment would pass. But Vanessa continued, making comments about how some people confused invitations with importance. She questioned whether Caleb was even supposed to be there. The crowd watched, some uncomfortable, others amused. Caleb felt the familiar pain of being judged without being known. He could have revealed everything right there. He could have told them that the company they were celebrating was preparing to sign a partnership with him. He could have shown them the truth, but he didn't, because Caleb believed that a person's character mattered more than winning an argument. Then came the moment that shocked everyone. A server accidentally spilled a small amount of wine near Caleb's table. Instead of helping, Richard and Vanessa used the situation as another opportunity to embarrass him. They laughed, and in front of the entire ballroom they treated Caleb like he was someone who didn't belong. The room became silent. 200 guests watched as Caleb stood there with humiliation written across his face. Some guests looked away because they knew it was wrong. Others simply watched because they wanted to see what would happen next. Caleb calmly adjusted his jacket, thanked the staff member who tried to help him, and walked away from the crowd. But nobody knew that the quiet man leaving the room held the answer to the future they were celebrating. The next morning, executives from both companies gathered for the final billion-dollar agreement meeting. Richard arrived confident, believing everything was already secured. He expected another successful business victory. But when the company representatives entered the room, the atmosphere changed instantly. The executives stood and waited. Then Caleb walked in. Richard's expression changed completely. Vanessa looked confused. The same man they had mocked the night before was now sitting at the head of the table. The room became silent. Caleb introduced himself properly for the first time. He explained that he was the founder and CEO of Whitmore Innovations, the company behind the technology partnership worth $1 billion. The realization hit everyone at once. The man they had treated like he was worthless was the very person they needed. Richard and Vanessa were speechless. The confidence they had shown the night before disappeared instantly. But Caleb did not use the moment to destroy them. He didn't insult them. He didn't embarrass them the way they had embarrassed him. Instead, he spoke about something far more important. He explained that business deals could be rebuilt, contracts could be rewritten, and money could always be earned again. But respect, once lost, was much harder to recover. He told them that the greatest measure of success was not how people treated those above them, but how they treated those they believed could do nothing for them. The meeting continued, but something had changed. The billion-dollar agreement was no longer just about technology or profit. It became a lesson about humanity. Richard later apologized publicly. He admitted that his arrogance had caused him to judge someone he never took the time to understand. Vanessa also apologized, realizing that her actions had hurt someone who had shown more kindness than she deserved. Caleb accepted their apology, but he never forgot the lesson. From that day forward, he made sure his company culture focused even more on humility, respect, and treating every person with dignity. Months later, Caleb returned to the same ballroom for another charity event. This time, the atmosphere was different. The same people who once ignored him now respected him, not because of his wealth, but because of his character. He looked around the room and remembered the night when he stood there alone, surrounded by people who thought they were better than him, but Caleb knew something they didn't. A person's true value is never determined by what others see on the outside. It is determined by what they carry inside. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that kindness and respect can change lives, please support this video by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your engagement helps us bring more inspiring stories of humanity, forgiveness, and second chances. Before the story ends, comment "Respect is worth more than money" if you believe every person deserves dignity, no matter who they are or where they come from. Because sometimes the person everyone ignores today is the person who can change everything tomorrow. And sometimes the greatest revenge is not proving someone wrong, it is showing them the kindness they failed to show you.